Hello and welcome back to AEF TV, and we're at our penultimate interview. We'll go one more after this, and we're joined in the studio now by Paddy Padmanathan, who's the President and CEO of ACWA Power. Paddy, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, I'm delighted to be with you.
Yeah. And we were talking a little bit off air, and I was talking about some of the interviews I've done during the day, and there's been this narrative about the investment infrastructure and the landscape, things that have changed within Africa and so on. But your business is actually one of those companies that is investing in Africa. Your business, you were mentioning, is you own and operate the asset, and then you sell it onto a suitable off-taker, whether that's the utility or not. But one of the questions I want to kick off with, as a business who has invested in Africa, first off, what criteria made it right for you to jump into Africa? And then the second question, I'll let you answer that, but the second question is, what do you see, do you actually feel that there's a change in the landscape in Africa as well? So I'm hitting you with two questions in one go.
Yeah. No, that's fine, thank you. Delighted to be here, and they're sort of somewhat interrelated questions anyway. Yeah. Look, I mean, for us, Africa was very much a case of, it's an extremely well-endowed, resource-rich, but yet underserved continent. It's not just resource-rich with minerals and metals and all the rest of it. That's what oil and gas, that's what people can immediately think of resource. It actually also has people. It has a lot of people. Now, in my business, which is power generation and desalinated water production, people is extremely important because they make economies grow and they consume the electricity and water, and then they do things that then in turn consumes more of my products. So we found Africa to have that intrinsic platform that was perfect. We want to go and provide electricity and desalinated water at the cheapest possible price, because we are making significant investments up front, but we're not a sort of creator of assets that we sell and run. We're a service provider. We supply electricity and water for 20, 30, 40 years.
So you put in the capital,
we put in the capital,
you build the plant,
we get the plant,
you run the plant.
Yeah, we get the plant built, we select the right technology, we get the plant built, and then we run the plant over 20, 20, 25, 30, 40 years, some of them have got asset license for 40 years, and sell kilowatt hours or cubic meters of water.
And that's the payback for the capital.
That's the payback for the capital. And therefore, we need to always be very conscious that the price at which we contract up front, typically on long-term contracts, remains relevant over this long term. The easiest way to do that is to keep it absolutely down to the minimum up front. To keep that price down to the minimum, what we need, well, look, if a country is not if a country doesn't have rule of law, doesn't respect private sector, doesn't have the basics, you don't go there. But what we found in Africa is that governance has changed. A lot of educated young people are coming up in the system. Industries are growing. There is a platform of supply chain. These are all the necessary ingredients that will enable us to get long-term financing, which is an essential ingredient to keeping the tariff down from day one. We also found that by maximizing local content, we not only are helping the economic development of the country, but actually that's the most sustainable way of getting the cost down.
So when you say local content, what do you mean by that?
Buying goods and services in order to get the plant built and then subsequently to operate the plant.
And sourcing those locally.
Yeah. So we don't want to end up going to a place where we have to import everything and get the project funded on a short-term debt, because then the tariff that we end up having to deliver it at becomes very uneconomic, unaffordable, and these long-term contracts will get defaulted on. So the focus for us is to find countries that has got stability, economic, it doesn't have to be rich, but there is a reasonable track record of sensible economics that has got also a reasonable population base that is starting to be educated and is coming up in the system that we can then subsequently take on and employ and train, that has got an industrial infrastructure, even if it's not sophisticated, that can give us a certain amount of local content that we can then continue to build on. Now, what we found is that there are several countries in Africa that absolutely fit this bill, and we have started to step in growing our business beyond our
that was in Southern Africa and in Morocco.
Today we are focused in 4 countries in southern cone of Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Mozambique and South Africa, and in the northern part of Africa in Morocco and Egypt. So that's our platform today. We're a young company, we're growing fairly fast. We've come out of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We're already operating in 8 countries. We can't be everywhere doing everything, so we're being very selective. This does not mean that there are the other countries in Africa of no interest to us. I think there are several other countries like Ghana, Kenya.
Nigeria?
Nigeria in time to come, and I'll come back to that if you like, which will be of interest to us. But right now we've got our hands full, so we are kind of progressively building up. We came, and we're very happy because we came here 3 years ago. We stepped into Africa 3 years ago as a company, but very quickly have established ourselves, and we've been able to actually select projects, get them funded, deploy our own capital, get into construction. So today we have got a $700 million project in construction in South Africa, which is a renewable energy project. It's a fairly large concentrated solar power plant project.
And you're generation agnostic, are you? You do renewables?
We are fuel agnostic, technology neutral. Our focus is entirely on delivering the lowest possible tariff, responding to the customer's need. So to the extent the customer says burn wood chips, we're ready to do that. In Africa, we see the opportunities very much, obviously in coal. In Mozambique, we're doing the first very large scale private power investment in Mozambique. It's a $1 billion project, 300 megawatt coal-fired power plant, where we are working with a Brazilian partner, the coal mine operator, Vale. 85% of the coal will go to Vale, power will go to Vale, and 15% will go to the grid, EDM, the operator of the grid, electricity to Mozambique.
And with the sort of coal-fired plants, are you also going in and, because there's a lot of talk about, there are changes in efficiency that can be made in coal, but liquefaction or whatever you want to call it.
Gasification.
All sorts of things. Is that also how you look at it and say, well, how do we get the maximum out of the raw asset?
Correct. Again, with our sort of quest to keep the tariff down, automatically means you need to also increase the efficiency of fuel utilization. Because in power generation, fuel is one of the bigger, unless you are blessed so much with renewable energy, fuel conversion, the efficiency of conversion is a significant cost. So we are moving progressively towards using, so in combined cycle gas-fired power plants, for example, we are now moving towards 57, 58% efficiencies, which are very high. In coal, we are moving towards, right now the smaller units tend to be subcritical, but even in the subcritical, we are looking for the most up-to-date machinery that can stretch that efficiency to as high 38, move it forward, and then we are looking for opportunities also to move into supercritical, which is even more efficient. So coming back to the sort of original question is, the second part of the question was, have you seen a change? Look, we're a 10-year-old company. So the first 5 years we focused at home in building a competency capacity in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But once we got to that, then we started to step out. We did a survey of where we want to go. And at that time when we did the survey, that was nearly 5 years ago, then itself we identified Africa as an opportunity, but to watch. Very quickly, watching it over 2 years, we realized that it was changing, and changing for the better very fast. I think across the continent, governance has improved. It's very clear. The number of educational literacy rates have risen. The number of well-trained and educated people are increasing. And today's world is a very different place. The dynamics are changing.
Yes.
We are becoming much more resource consumptive. So the basic resources of Africa are much more, they were always of relevance and interest, but they are much more of value today. So
can I ask you a question about your reaction to when I said Nigeria? And I'd quite like to dig a little bit deeper into that, because when you talk a lot with the interviews here, everybody's talking about Nigeria as the next big place. And I would have thought for a company like yours, it would be, and I'm looking at it on the surface, right? So why the hesitation?
Okay, the immediate sort of quick answer to you, and it's not a flippant answer, and I'll explain the answer. Today, 3 people have asked me in the last 2 hours, so what are you going to do in Nigeria?
Yes.
My immediate answer is, and they all seem to understand it when I say it, let somebody do the first 4,000 megawatts. I'm there to help with the remaining 44,000. It's a country that desperately needs a huge amount of electricity. It's no brainer for me. It needs to have 50,000 megawatts of installed capacity, and it doesn't even have 1,500.
Yes.
Okay. Why? So what is my comment? Let somebody do the first 4,000. I'm just being very straightforward and businesslike. I'm there to then support the remaining 44. Nigeria today is a very different Nigeria of the past. We recognize that, we respect that, we understand that, and we value that. And I think it is the right time. The problem for people like us, we're a private sector entity. We are extremely impatient. We have come up, look, in 9 years from startup, we've built a platform of 17,500 megawatts, of which 11,000 is greenfield that we've got, well, all of it, most of it is greenfield. 11,000 is already operating. I'm the second largest desalter in the world. 2.5 million cubic meters of desalinated water we produce and deliver every day. Now, look at the amount of stuff that we've achieved. This is a $25.5 billion platform. Okay, so we've done that. So in some respects, we've been very spoiled. We've done that so quickly. So we are very impatient. We want to move. Okay, so, and look at what we have done. We've come to southern part of Africa in a matter of 3 years. We've got 1,000 megawatts of projects that's either in construction or going into construction, and another 1,000 megawatts in bid. Okay, so my problem with Nigeria is that coming from the past and going forward, it's got all the platform of good governance and all the rest of it is there. But because it's such a large country with a large need, it is very slow, understandably so,
yes,
the reality, in moving. So things take a lot of time. So the first power purchase agreements, the first project implementations will all take time. Now,
and what you're saying that sort of bidding process to market, the more they do it, the faster it accelerates, and then at some point it's right for your business.
Yeah, for me today, I need to decide where to deploy the handful of resources. Yeah. My constraint, I'm not equity constrained, I'm not debt capital constrained, amazingly in this world. I'm not opportunity constrained. The markets across we work is growing at about 7.5% per annum. So I am human resource constrained.
Yes.
So I need to also be concerned about where I deploy my human resources to get the maximum value.
Yeah.
And so that means churning fast, moving on fast, getting things into construction, getting into operation. So we need Nigeria to become a little bit more established. The market, other people who have got a little bit more patience to go in there, get the early returns, no problem, the higher returns.
And then once they've got the blueprint, they can
and we'll be
replicate.
There. I really look forward to that.
We're coming to the end of our time, and,
Thank you.
I have one last question, which is just a curiosity question. Desalination and power, are you in those two things because there's some sort of synergy?
Absolutely related.
Yeah,
very synergistic. There are 3 technologies that are used in desalination. 2 of them are evaporative technologies, and one of them is a membrane-based technology, a filtration technology.
Yeah.
So the filtration, all 3 of them are energy-intensive technologies. Now the evaporative technologies, multi-effect distillation and multi-stage flash distillation, MSF, multi-stage flash.
Do you have to put energy into?
No, basically what we do is, there it's very, very linked.
Yeah.
If you're going to burn gas, to run a power plant, to turn the turbine, generate power, the waste, the gas, the exhaust that comes out is still very hot.
And
you can put that through, in a combined cycle, you put that through into a boiler, generate steam and run a steam turbine, but the steam coming out is still hot. With a little bit of extra energy, you can then superheat it and then run it through a flash process to distillate desalinate the water. Okay, so it's very intense, very integrated, and you get more value, efficiency out of the fuel
because you're using the waste
correct.
of one side
to go to yeah. So that's in the case of the two evaporative technologies. Then in the case of the filtration technology, that just uses primary energy, electricity. It's most efficient when we couple it. Okay, we can get more bang for the buck. So that's why we got into it. And the other logical reason, obviously, for us is coming from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we have no choice but to consume desalinated water. And so we do a lot of co-generation, co-production. So it was very natural for us to be involved from day one. But as the world, climate change and all the rest of it, as the world moves on, and population, urbanization intensifies and so on, desalination is starting to be used around the world. London has got a desal plant.
Not that much known, but one of the larger desalination plants in Europe.
Yeah, so there you go.
Listen, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you
very much for joining us. And I'd like to thank you as well for watching. Like I said, penultimate interview from day one at Africa Energy Forum, and you can hear from the background noise, quite a buzzy, good event. So thank you for watching, and we will see you online again tomorrow.